Bible Stories with Lumina, Hagar, and the God Who Sees. Hello there, friends. I'm Lumina, your guide through the greatest stories ever told. Today, we are stepping back in time to the land of Canaan. We meet a man named Abram. God had promised Abram that he would have a very big family, but many years had passed, and he and his wife Sarai still had no children. They were waiting and wondering when God's promise would come true. Sarai was tired of waiting. She had a plan of her own, even though it wasn't what God had described. She went to Abram and said, "The Lord has kept me from having children. Go, sleep with my slave. Perhaps I can build a family through her." Abram listened to Sarai and agreed to her plan. Sometimes, when we get impatient, we try to fix things ourselves instead of trusting God. Sarai had an Egyptian servant named Hagar. Sarai took Hagar and gave her to Abram to be his wife. Hagar was caught in the middle of a very complicated situation. She was a servant, and in those times, she didn't have a choice in what was happening to her. She was brought into Abram's home to help fulfill Sarai's plan. Soon, Hagar became pregnant. But instead of bringing the family closer together, it caused a lot of trouble. Hagar began to look at Sarai with contempt, because she could have a child, and Sarai could not. Sarai felt disrespected in her own home. The peace in their household was gone, replaced by hurt feelings and anger. Sarai was very upset and complained to Abram, saying, "You are responsible for the wrong I am suffering." Abram didn't want to be in the middle of the argument. He told Sarai, "Your slave is in your hands. Do with her whatever you think best." He gave Sarai the power to decide Hagar's fate, and things became very difficult for Hagar. Because Abram gave her permission, Sarai began to treat Hagar very harshly. It became so bad that Hagar felt she couldn't stay there any longer. Even though she was pregnant and had nowhere to go, she ran away into the hot, lonely desert. She felt completely alone and forgotten by everyone. Hagar traveled until she found a spring of water in the wilderness. On the way to Shur, she sat down by the water, exhausted and crying. She was far from any home, in a place where no one usually went. She probably thought that nobody knew where she was or cared about what happened to her and her unborn baby. Suddenly, the angel of the Lord appeared to her by the spring. He called her by name. "Hagar, slave of Sarai, where have you come from, and where are you going?" Hagar was honest. She said, "I'm running away from my mistress Sarai." The angel told her to go back, but he also gave her a wonderful promise. Her descendants would be too many to count. The angel told Hagar she would have a son and should name him Ishmael, which means God hears, because the Lord had heard her misery. Hagar was so amazed that God found her in the desert. She gave the Lord a special name, El Roi, which means, "You are the God who sees me." She realized she was never truly alone. Hagar returned to Abram and Sarai, and later her son Ishmael was born, just as God said. Friends, the lesson today is so important. No matter how lonely you feel or how hard things get, remember El Roi. God sees you, He hears you, and He cares about you personally. You are never invisible to Him. I'll see you in the next chapter of the Bible.